Joining us on another Hard Money Bankers State of the Market. Today we got a very unique guest. We actually did an interview, Kyle and I, prior to the coronavirus coming out, but it hasn't been released yet. And in fact, we did it just before.
It was like a day or two before, wasn't it?
Yeah. And I guess I don't want to reveal too much of what we spoke about, but we were literally just talking about like, hey, challenges happen, whether it's, was it her, Katrina, right?
Yeah. And then Sandy. Yeah, you're right. Right.
Yeah, we were just saying how everyone deals with the challenges, but it's how you deal with them and how you come out on top. We did not realize our timing would have been perfect for the current situation.
Yeah, no, it was talking about this pretty much exact situations, this kind of thing. So.
Well, so for those who don't know who Kyle is, because that video hasn't been released yet. So you'll have to watch the other video to get the whole story. But Kyle has a claim to fame. He's kind of a celebrity here. So on a non-real estate side, Kyle, you want to just tell us what you do outside of real estate, and then we'll swing back and jump into real estate?
Yeah, sure. Like my passion and what I moved up to the New York City area for is acting. So acting in film and TV. And I guess real quick, so when we, the way we first got in contact, you'd sent out a video or an email about the Lovely Bones.
Yep.
And the Lovely Bones, you had known the guy that sold the Lovely Bones house, the movie with Mark Wahlberg back in the day. And I opened the email thinking it was somebody from the Lovely Bones because I used to work with Mark Wahlberg as his double stand-in for like a couple projects. So I had thought it was somebody reaching out to me saying, hey, Lovely Bones, we knew each other from there. And I opened it and I realized it was something totally different, but that's where we started talking.
Yeah.
The clickbait was real. Like, you couldn't get any better than that, right?
Couldn't get any better than that. No, because I have that happen from time to time. People like that I know from sets and stuff. They have other, industries that they're working in. So they always contact me, and either there are mortgages or something like that. So yeah, it worked out.
Nice,
but not.
So yeah, if anybody has any acting questions or how to do that, feel free to put that in
Reach
here.
out to me for that too.
Yep. Yeah. So, but we'll swing it back now to real estate. So Kyle,
nothing's going on in that world, by the way.
Well, actually, yeah, dive into that a little bit because every update we get is totally about real estate. So you know what? Give us a little break here. What does happen in that world right now?
Real estate. We're still, just dealing with it. We're adapting, we're pivoting our, business and everything. But as far as like the acting world, pretty much, I had an audition for actually something for a network TV show. Like it was a Friday. It was right around March, right after we talked, and it just got shut down because they were shutting down production. So pretty much everywhere in the world, all production is shut down.
Yikes. What does that mean for the media world? Like, does that mean we're going to have no media out in like 3 to 6 months? New media, new content?
Well, the good thing about it is it depends how long this thing lasts. But of course, it takes approximately like a year or so, 6 months to a year to turn things around. To go through the editing process. So things that were filmed, like say Ozark, that's on Netflix now, was filmed, last year.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it's coming out now. So, but yeah, we're going to run out of those eventually. And
so editors are going to be backed up with work in about, 3 months.
Working double time.
Yeah.
It's going to be crazy right when we come out of this whole thing, because basically right now it's supposed to be pilot season. And then it usually lulls during the summer and then picks back up in September for like episodic season.
Right.
So now all those pilots, and there's a lot of development going on. But then once we open back up, like that whole industry is there's going to be a lot of new content.
I guess that's similar to what we're hearing about the real estate industry. I hope my segue was good there. So basically, good. People are saying, the normal March, April, May boom it's still going to happen at some point. But right now it's basically just being delayed. It's just it's schedule's changing a little bit.
Yeah, no, I think it's supposed to be the spring market right now. Mm-hmm. So you're getting a lot of people that we're looking to do something, and now it's not happening. And usually the summer months are the slower months because everybody goes on vacation and stuff. But I'm expecting there to be a lot more activity. There's still still some people that are, having to sell and having to buy. So things are moving.
Yeah. So yesterday we had a Brian Reed on. He kind of covered the South Jersey area for us, like the beaches.
Mhm.
He brought some really good points I haven't thought of. You wouldn't unless you're near a beach, which is like those businesses are only open from April to maybe October, right?
Yeah.
So this is huge crunch time for them. So the reason why I mention that is because you are I know you cover all New Jersey, but you're also specialized in the Hoboken area. So I'm wondering, is there any unique things that you're seeing to the Hoboken, New York City area in the market? Any adjustments? Any concerns that the town has right now, or not, or maybe it's status quo for you? So any observations you have from what you see?
No, I mean, not. There's not really crunch time. Like, it's just been a steady flow of the standard stuff that we've all been adapting to. No in-person open houses and stuff like that. But it's been a lot of virtual tours. I actually, if you would have told me, there's nothing been in that the city itself has put in place, but it's just been us, trying to adapt, and it's all about comfortability of your client, right? So, right before this all happened, I'll give a quick example. If you would have told me 2 months ago that somebody would buy a place just seeing something virtually for $500,000 to $1 million, I would have said there's no absolute way.
Right.
But there was somebody I met at an open house right before this all happened, and they were still interested in really buying and purchasing. And there's a lot of good points on both sides of the coin. Like, if you're a buyer, there's not a lot of competition, and there's a lot of sellers that need to sell their house and really want to sell. So she was like, "Am I crazy for wanting to buy right now?" And I said, "No, you're without competition." We ended up, the seller didn't want anyone in their house, but they wanted to sell, so they ended up getting on a virtual Zoom thing with the seller, the seller's agent, and then me and the buyer. And they went through, and the seller had us on a FaceTime thing. And just like we were going through a normal tour, and they ended up putting in an offer and getting it accepted. So we're going to closing too.
Is there at least the stipulation in the closing saying, dependent on viewing, or are they going to do this without seeing it?
They have an inspection this Friday. And usually we put in there, like we did put in there, it's contingent upon walking through at one time. But at least you would negotiate all other points,
Which is still like $500 or $500,000 to $1 million deal. Yeah. All done virtually. Yeah. That's insane.
It's not, if you think about it that way, it's like they still have contingency to go into the place to see it, So
it's going to be wild to think. I mean, there's kind of, any contract always has, you can get out of it if you really want. It doesn't really matter. Like the contingency, the new virtual contingency, whatever. But it's crazy to think that the most, probably the biggest purchase that 99% of people will ever make in their entire lives moving forward could easily be done without even physically seeing the object. I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of closings that people don't go, moving forward to the house. I mean, a lot of people still will, but I bet there'll be a lot that won't. What you'll see a lot of is going to be like send a home inspector in lieu of kind of thing, and people will be cool.
Exactly. Right. It's the thing is like, if it makes sense, if you know I guess it depends on every situation's different, but if you know the outside of the place, where it's at, you drive by it. And then like if it's a condo or something and then you go in and you have a FaceTime virtual tour and you're looking at everything and then you get and you like it. I mean, I'd probably still think most people would want to just step foot in there one time to look at it. But I mean, what else is there, right? Once it's a inspector comes in.
It just occurred to me, what a good stock to potentially capitalize on now would be like Oculus Rift, right? Because you can, if you have that actual 3D walkthrough on the house,
right,
like game over, right? Because I'm literally walking through the house now and I don't have to leave my living room, my own living room. So,
right. Well, who owns it? Doesn't Facebook own Oculus?
I don't know, actually. I just
think they do.
Probably.
That might be a Facebook play there.
They got all your
which isn't a bad,
which already makes sense, right?
It would make sense.
But hopefully they're developing robots too that can walk around the house for you, so you don't even have to send a realtor there anymore. It's just all
right.
We are just non-existent. We're useless, all of us.
Well, I mean, Matterport is a big game changer, and I was using Matterport a little before this, but that's like the same thing. You can go through and go into every room, look at everything real closely. So
Yeah.
That was incredible. I don't know if you ever, have you ever seen a rendering of how that works and stuff? It's like mind blowing.
I haven't actually, and coming from an IT background, I probably should look into
Yeah,
that.
it's
the Matterport.
Yeah,
It's absolutely amazing. Like the cameras are very expensive, but I got a guy that did it, for like $350. It's a little more expensive than pictures, but they come in and they will go through. It's just a scan of every room, and you can actually, as a viewer, can view each room and take a tour yourself.
So have you done that selling houses then? Like you've done that?
I've done that selling houses. Even before this whole thing happened, there was a property in Weehawken, New Jersey. There was a big house that I did the Matterport virtual tour for. And somebody in New York City saw it off of our our focused ad. And they were looking for a 1-bedroom in the West Village and couldn't find anything under $1 million, and then saw this house and was able to go through it without leaving their couch. And, ended up, that's what prompted them to, come over and take a bus to Weehawken. They've never been there before. And they ended up buying it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So.
I mean, that's kind of what's happening right now. It's like a lot of these platforms existed prior to 2 months ago, but they just weren't mainstream. They were the one-off cases that you're just talking about, right?
Right.
But now, who knows? It could flip-flop. That's going to be the main source of sending properties.
Absolutely.
Out
I mean, it was all in place. But now it's just like, if you were already adapting to these things and already using this technology, you're just already ahead of the game.
Yeah. So, I mean, tell us about that. Tell us how, what's your team doing? And I probably didn't even introduce you properly here. Kyle has his own brokerage, Prestige Property Group, as you can see. So Kyle, just what are you telling your team? What are you guys doing? Anything different? Anything the same?
Well, we're doing a lot of these Zoom Zoom meetings and stuff. Just trying to do a lot of training for the new, for this market. There's a lot of people that need help, like a lot of agents, I think, they're going to need help in this market right now, like knowing what to say. It's so important knowing how to handle clients, because it's all really about, like, you can't, press people right now. It's not it's a touchy market. It's a touchy industry, but there are buyers that need your help. And there's sellers that definitely can't do it on their own right now. So that's what we're seeing a lot of, and basically just everybody's adapting to it and everybody's trying to learn the new skills.
Yeah. I mean, the message is definitely the same coming from every person who's successfully navigating this right now. It's the same. You're not trying to sell right now, right?
Right.
Every person is their own cookie cutter. There's no repeat formula here. You got to customize it. You got to get what they need. And you're not trying to sell, you're just trying to help them as best you can. So it's very interesting that's the message that's going out from all of the key players, such as yourself, that here's honestly what we're doing to succeed.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's like for the first time in forever. I mean, first of all, everybody's home right now, so you can get everybody on the phone. And this is the complete time that you want to be reaching out to people, but it's not about selling them a home. It's like, if they're your clients and you care about them, it's like, ask them how they're doing, first of all, touch base with them, connect with them,
Yeah. So what advice are you giving your clients? Because it's the situation of what would you tell yourself? What would you tell your family members, right? Would you buy? Would you sell right now?
Well, for instance, I just talked to one of my, person of sphere of influence, past client yesterday. I just had been reaching out a little bit before this all started, but I reached out and they're stuck in a, I sold them a condo in Hoboken when they had 1 kid, and now they have 3 in a 2-bedroom apartment that's 800 and something square feet. So they're like, listen, we have to get out of here. We're realizing this now, and they want a, place with a yard and all that stuff. So I guess, what was the question? Sorry. It was,
I don't even remember myself. It was good.
Yeah, it was just basically that's what I'm telling them. It's I'm telling my clients, if they're a buyer, we can make this work for you. I have a Zoom, a Zoom meeting, a FaceTime meeting with a buyer today to talk about, just like to answer any questions and concerns they may have, because you can still sit with them, face to face. It's still important to do that. And then just kind of like they're feeling it's impossible to do right now, impossible to purchase a place, or it's like, so just talking to them about what the situations are and how we can do it and setting them at ease.
Yeah. I think what we're going to see come out of this is going to be like, we'll see this across the board, but right now it's just like everybody's throwing something at the wall, and you're going to see like best practices come out of it across the board. Every brokerage, every realtor, everybody's is wondering right now, like what to expect next, including sellers and buyers, right? Nobody quite knows how to get a deal in a traditional fashion to the table. So that's all going to change. But I do think pretty quickly out of this, you're going to get best practices. I mean, right from like 99% of the people that use Zoom, like as of 3 weeks ago, didn't even know how to open up Zoom, right? And now you're like, okay, now I'm going to use Zoom. Then it's going to be, then I'm going to do a virtual tour. Then I'm going to do this. So it's like, it's just the best practices will come to the surface. I think we'll have just a new standard for both buyers and sellers that'll come to fruition at the end of this.
Absolutely. Some of my people at my company are all like making fun of me right now because they like, oh, you're in love with Zoom, And I'm like, yeah, it's awesome. Like
it's the future. Enjoy it.
Yeah. Like this is why I wish I was using this earlier, but it is tough to navigate at first. But once you get the hang of it, it's awesome, and probably continue to do this like afterwards. Why not?
You think it's gonna? Yeah, I was gonna say, you think it's gonna stick? Like this is the new norm in some ways.
I definitely do. I mean, it saves money, it saves time, money to have to go anywhere. Like you can do a ton of stuff that you didn't think you could do at your house. You don't really have to,
Yeah. I mean, that's another thing everyone's mentioning, like cutting costs at the office. You're like, I guess so you didn't need this office space. I don't know if you guys are making any changes like that, but
well, it's great. I mean, I've always been a big believer in like keeping the overhead as low as possible. You just always want to prepare for something like this. I mean, we were pretty prepared for this for a while. I think we did a good job in this. Like, you never want to overextend yourself. Like, we've had opportunities to do that. And I'm not I don't like that. I'm just not that kind of guy.
No, that's why we're able to have this interview with you. And what I mean by that is if we were to reach out for interviews 2 months ago, there would have been literally thousands of people. But when the storm hits, it's who prepared right. I mean, the phrase that's been going around the coronavirus, and I kind of like this new message is we're all in the same ship, right? I like the corrected version of that, saying, no, we're not all in the same ship by any means. We're in the same storm, but not the same ship. So this goes on to multiple levels. Because it's also for people who are outside of real estate, right, that are struggling they didn't have any money. They are paycheck to paycheck, and they're trying to feed their family, right? So they're not in the same boat as those, because there's been a lot of media you might have seen on like NBC, ABC, CBS. They did this joint musical thing, right? And they're trying to do it for the people, which is great. Mm-hmm. But the whole theme of this was these celebrities in literally yachts or $1 million homes trying to calm everyone down, saying, we're going to get through this. We're in this together. And then you have, people who are literally trying to feed their family being like, F you, we are not in this like at all. So the message kind of shifted a little bit from, we're not in the same ship. We're not, but we are in the same storm. So, the message there is, if you do have a big boat, a yacht, perhaps, help out those around you. But it also does show that in the business sense, not everybody came into this storm ready for the big waves, right?
Right. And
that's kind of what you were saying. It's how we operate. We are lean. We always promote lean. Overhead is the death of any business. So I mean, that's outside of real estate. That's just the blatant thing, right? So you got to keep your crew, thin, with your supplies high, right? So those ships are the ones that are doing well in this storm business wise. So, we definitely agree with what you're saying, and we encourage anybody who's listening to it now, prepare for the next storm, whenever that is, whether it's 5 or 10 years, remember this.
Yes. I really like that. I really like what you just said. I didn't even I thought about it, but I didn't think about it that way. We're all in the same storm, just not in the same ship. Like, there's definitely a lot of people in different situations, but, and hopefully it is a big learning. situation.
I like your mentality too. Sorry, I didn't mean to. It's weird sometimes in these things. Like I like your mentality of like you're like, hey, we could have expanded, we didn't, and you were trying to figure out how you wanted to phrase that statement, like, to wind up in a good place that you are. And I'm thinking in my head, like as you were saying that, I'm like, we're the same way. I think maybe the verbiage maybe to look for without like putting people off is, or at least from our perspective, we're not risk takers. Like I'm just not. Like I'm risk adverse. And even though we're in the business of real estate, which is like known for like cowboys and go big or go home, and like I'm like, you go home. When you go big, you go home. Like the guys that fall big, and we see this across the board. We do thousands of deals. I see everywhere from the guy who does one flip a year to guys that it's just 50, 60, 100 deals a year. These guys are, when you go big, you fall hard. You're stressed out. You're going to fall hard. Like risk adverse and like, good margins. That's how you survive these turns because, honestly, like there is nothing sexy. I always like when people ask me about this business, I was like, always make sure you're very clear about what this business is. It's making money first. So if you're in this for the rush of the big deal, or you're in this for like, you want to be on flip this house. If you're in it for those other reasons, you're going to, I'm not saying this to you. I'm just like in general saying it's like somebody's going to take a risk that is going to be bigger than their britches. And unfortunately, this is where that shows up right now during a moment like this. Like it exposes itself. It was like, hey, so like I'm a baby. Like I'm risk adverse. I don't want to lose money. That's it. That's what I come in and do. And
it's like you work hard. And the thing is like, we're in this business. We're risk takers already, but it's a certain level of risk, right? You're a risk taker being in this business because it's nothing's secure. Like it isn't, nothing's ever secure. So it's about the risk you're taking. I mean, we're saying the same thing. It's just like, you can go too big. I know what you're talking about, guys that do, flip after flip and just big stuff. And they're just constantly like trying to go huge. And like something like this happens and you are just stressed. Like I have a lot of investors right now that are so stressed to the wall and just reaching out to me. And it's like constantly like, I almost feel bad saying it. Like, that's why I didn't say it before, but we said the same thing. It's like profit first. It sounds weird, but it's like run a lean ship, focus on profit and, making money and keeping everything lean so that when you have trouble situations, like you're not stressing out so much. Like I don't want to have, in this situation, like have, not be able to sleep at night because of what I had,
there's Ryan. Ryan will jump in on that comment. Ryan,
that's what I live by. So I joined the Hard Money Bankers team after 2008 crash. So I was not there for 2008. And, Ian was there Ian was there 2008. My other partners in DC and Maryland were there in 2008. So last few years, it's been booming, right? Like, everybody and their mother is lending right now. The prices are like 5% in 1 point. It's like the mortgage is the same, whether you're doing conventional or investment properties, it doesn't matter. Just everybody. Yeah. And, we were considered the higher rate guys. We would require a little bit more money because those 0% financing deals that were going on, we were going to be closer to your 10 to 15%. This is pre-corona, right? Mm-hmm. So we're the expensive guys, and I would say to my partners, like how do we, like, this is tough, right? Like, we have our competitors, and they're like, just stay patient. They're like, I'm telling you, we don't know what it is, we don't know what's going to happen, but eventually there will be a turn, and we will be the last man standing. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it was a hard lesson to learn because, well, I didn't have to learn it. I got to follow them. You got to go through your Katrina story. You got to see your moments of, we have to be lean because XYZ can happen. If you started your business in the last 5 years, when everything has just been going up and up and up and up, you were not preparing for any sort of, we got to be lean or anything like that. You felt unstoppable, right?
It was like when we started Prestige, me and my business partner started up and we're like, look, it's all about, we had a game plan, right? We looked like a napkin kind of plan where you just map it out and you're like, okay, we can do this. Like, in the worst case scenario, we're going to meet the bottom line. Like, this is going to be good. Everything else is, we can set up our business, and in the better case scenarios, we're doing really well. You know, we can weather the storm. And then there's been all these people that have come and like, you know, trying to go in all big, and like, you know, we've seen a lot of brokerages come and a lot go away, and you know, we've had opportunities to go bigger, and then we've been like, you know, too much stress, too much overhead with things, and it's just like, keep it lean. And then it's like, you know, in this situation, it's the same thing. It's just about having the plan that in the worst case scenarios, you know, you're going to be okay.
Yeah. And I mean, you can't really tell until you're put into the position. So now that you're in the downside, are you sleeping at night? Like, the test is the result, right? Like, and we are. I'm able to sleep at night. You're able to sleep at night, right? Mm-hmm. So that means your preparation up to this point was correct. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, anybody who's listening to this, if you're trying to figure out what you should be doing, it's everything that Kyle has said in the last 30 minutes, because he's able to sleep at night.
You know, yeah, I mean, it's easier said than done. I mean, not one size fits all. I've been saying that, but like, that's just how I've run my businesses. Like, my investments I've made with real estate, super safe. I've seen guys doing the Airbnb thing and like being like, oh, we're crushing it, we're doing this Airbnb thing, and now look at that. Like, you're really stressed out. Like, that has just gone away, and now your overhead is so high. Now, you couldn't have anticipated that, but it's like you try to get so big for, like, you know, and then boast about it and all that stuff. Like, you know, I see guys on social media and stuff, and it's like, how do you do so much on there? And I know you're not even doing real business. Like, you're looking like you're doing it, but you know, if you're really busy doing the real nuts and bolts of things, like, that's, you know, nothing's changed in my business, honestly. Like, I still am getting up early. I'm still working out. I'm still making prospecting calls. I'm just making prospecting calls differently. I'm not coming at it hard. I'm coming still with a intention of service and compassion, and, you know, reaching out and seeing how people are doing first. But then it's also like, hey, for sale by owner, like, you know, you didn't want to, you know, I've been working with you for a year, talking to you, and you've been thinking you could list yourself. Well, now it's not only hard in a normal market, it's damn near impossible right now. So, you know, it's kind of like, I'm almost like, I can't take on, I almost want to be selective now taking on certain things, because it's like, with listings comes overhead. And I just like took down 3 listings, you know, this past week. And I'm just like, I hope they, you know, try to sell, you know,
right. Yeah.
I'm still putting in money and work to them.
No, it's the amount of work, if anything, is more. It's just different. That's what's going on. If at least if you're capitalizing on this, and it's there's a difference between capitalizing and then preying on people, and that's not what successful people do. We capitalize on this, right? Everybody's in. You know, Ian said this before. Everybody's in the same game. The rules are set, right? It's not unique for anyone here, which is very interesting for this go around, because it's the entire world. It's not just like one industry being impacted. It is everybody, right?
Across the world, yeah.
So whether or not you think it's political, whether or not you think coronavirus is man-made or not, none of that matters. It's the situation, and what are you going to do with it? Are you going to? It's the game. Are you going to sit around and say, I'm just going to wait for the government to help me? Or are you going to sit at home saying, all right, I'm literally going to think for the next 20 minutes or 30, however long, of what I could do. And then that idea pops into your head where, you know what, maybe I'll reach out to those for sale by owner people I knew a year ago. You know, that's how that happens. It's not like the situation happened and Kyle knew right away. No, you have to put your energy and your focus on getting creative. Right. You're still doing the same amount of work. It's just different work.
Still doing the same amount of work. I say that to I say now is the time to double down to all of my agents that I'm talking to. Like, double down your work. Don't let up, because you could easily be like, oh man, this coronavirus thing sucks, and you know, I just can't do anything, and woe is me, and I'm gonna pop on Netflix and stuff at 12 noon. It's like, not at all. Do you want to do that? If not more, like, my wife was just asking me, like, how are you so busy? You're not going anywhere that much. I'm like, no, I am, like, making more calls to people. Like, I'm making more calls. I'm touching base with more people. I'm doing more things actually right now. And I think that you will actually see, and secretly I kind of like this, that like 70% of the real estate agents that were in from 2013 will just go away.
Yeah, we talked about this with Brian yesterday. I mean, Brian's a mega producer in like the South Jersey market and stuff. And I said, look, man, I said, this is a time where all these industries were diluted, right? Like you had, and he said, he's like, he goes, I realized like when my mechanic was deciding to become a realtor and like, or it was like, nothing. I forget what it was.
My Lyft driver was a real estate agent this past summer.
Right. So you're like, so the problem with that is, or not the problem, but like what, you trim the fat, and then the professionals, the people that are surviving during this time and the real players will swoop all that up. And we experienced it in our business at an extreme level, because within a week's time of the quarantine, all of our competitors got knocked out of the game, like literally like lights out. And we were there standing, like, we were stress tested and holding it. So it does happen. And what you're not saying I secretly hope for it so much as you're just like, this is the reality. I might as well benefit from it, because like you're not going to change it. Right. You're
absolutely.
So
I just think a lot of the people, like you said, the Lyft drivers and like the people like that got it, your mechanic, they're just getting it. And it was so easy. Yeah. Especially like 2013 to 2017. I mean, you could get like, or especially around this area, you could probably work at part-time, make six figures, just like throwing stuff on the market and like having the market catch up, overpricing it, having the market catch up, selling it and all that stuff.
Yeah. The market was just making you feel smarter than you were. And it's like, wait a minute, I just made 60 grand. That's like a year's salary on somebody working their ass off. Like what's imbalanced here? Like something isn't right.
Exactly what was happening. And like, it was just too many people getting into the game thinking they were awesome. And then too many companies coming out, and then discount brokerages. And then these, like these companies that were, taunting like the profit shares things and all that stuff. And it's just like, they become not even a real estate company. It's like a recruiting company.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like, what are you doing? Well, you're recruiting, like, and they were slimy about it, and you could just tell, and it was just annoying. But it's not like, are you selling real estate or are you recruiting? It's like, that's what kind of people were coming to the industry.
I remember that in 2008, it was like there was similar stuff going on, but it was like, I remember at one point I was like, it went from like, you're having a fight to like get 5% as a broker, 4% as a broker, to like overnight when that market shut down to be like 7%. And like, you're investing. Like it went from like selling real estate and being incentivized to actually sell real estate. So back then it did what it just did, which was like, are we even doing real estate anymore? What are we doing? Are we recruiting? Like what's happening? Which is what you kind of just experienced. Like the actual widget that we were dealing with was so easy to move that it had no skill. There was no skill involved. It was just bang, list it and go. And now I think you're going to see, people are not going to wait. People that weren't making a living, a full-time living on this and a healthy one, are not going to be able to wait 2 and 3 months to get a check again. And they're going to have to go back and take a part-time job and do this. And they're going to have to go through a recovery. And it's going to be hard to convince somebody what their house is going to sell for. You're going to have to tell somebody right now, you're not going to get a higher number like you thought you were going to get. Like, here's the reality, and the comps are pulling back. You still want to go with me? Like, it's not, you can't just make everybody happy. So those things are going to definitely watch out. I do think what you're going to see, probably we have like, I think 2 more cycles of the pros before they retire, right? Quote unquote retire. So like anywhere from like probably the guys that have made it in the last 10 years that are like 35 to like 50 are going to have 2 more cycles of this. And every time they're going to come out and people are going to be like, man, he's, like Mike McCann is one guy we had on here. He's like one of the best biggest in the nation. Right. But Mike McCann's gone through 3 or 4 cycles. And every time he came out, it was like bigger, stronger. And it was like, because he had to fight through these moments to become that guy, but it didn't happen overnight,
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, man. It's like this situation is going to make people become who they are.
For sure. Battle tests everyone and find out who you are. You're like, hey, this wasn't for me. So people might find that too. That's okay. That's cool. But like, the guys that it is for, this is like, they're going to get after it. You're not going to have that listing that you thought you were going to like call next week, or you're watching Netflix. Like, somebody big and strong is calling right now to get that listing because they're hungry.
Yeah. It's you're helping these people out. They need to sell it. You're getting their listings, and then like business is going to grow while everything else is dwindling, and you come out of this and it's just like soaring.
Yeah,
You know?
and it's not a guess as to how it happened when you look back. People will look at it and go, like when your name gets real big or something in a few years, like, man, how did he do it? Where did he come from? Blah, blah, blah. It's like, this is the moment right now that those people are being built or defined. So it's like, if you're not sure what you should be doing, if you want to stick in there, it's gritty, man. Like, I mean, 2008, I remember that. Like that, the scars I have from those years were like, I will never forget. Like the lessons I've learned, all I can do is pass down. But these are those moments that those scars are carved.
Were you in the business in 2008? Were you in?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wait,
yeah.
Ryan, real quick, am I tagged in the Facebook thing? Up in Facebook? No.
Not sure. We'll have to double check.
I'll tag him right now.
Okay.
I just put you in my thing in the chat.
Got it. Well, I mean, we have it on the video.
Cool.
Your contact stuff. Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, yeah. So we'll make sure we handle that. At the same time, Kyle, because I'm freaking motivated right now, so I'm sure our viewers are. Do you have any last words you want to say? Inspiration, motivational? I know I'm pumped right now to feel like I got to go kick ass out there. I hope everyone else.
I actually got to do my prospecting now.
There you go.
Motivational. No, I just I think that it's the same thing I've been saying. Now is the time to double down on your work, not take your foot off the gas pedal, step it up, but learn different ways to adapt to this kind of situation. And then after we come out of this, because we are going to just keep continuing to prep yourself and build your war chest and like protect yourself when, in case of a rainy day.
Absolutely.
We've had like a month of rainy days now.
Yeah. It might be a little more rainy too coming up. So if you want to reach out to Kyle, whether it's you're looking to buy, sell, or just talk to him about real estate, Kyle, how can people get in touch with you?
So my email is, I guess, right on the bottom for everybody to see, KylePrestigePropertyGRP.com. Or you could, I guess, on Facebook, if I'm linked on here, you can find me there, and or find me on Instagram. I'm on there pretty much every day.
Sounds good. Awesome, Kyle. Appreciate it.
Guys, it was great talking to you.
All right, take care.
Absolutely.
Keep feeling it. All right, bye.